Hello everyone, and welcome to a very delayed Siege and Sandfort stream. I'll be honest, we've been rather busy. Joining me as normal is Aidan Howe.
Hello.
Well, you've also been rather busy.
Mm.
Oh, I can see my webcam has shifted down ever so slightly. One of many problems. So,
You didn't update, did you? So you can't see precisely how I've been busy, because it would be bad if you could.
no.
Good.
So, this thing here, this is pretty much what we took to EGX Rezzed last week, and that was, why is it flashing? We just don't know. That is
in a bit, it'll stop.
There we go. And that is, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, there's other things going on, but this was obviously a big thing we had to do.
The main event, certainly.
And we'll have a few more videos and a few things to talk about with that, but I think we can probably just run through a few things. And let me just have a quick look over on old Twitch, see if it's behaving. Good, I remember how it works. This number is probably wrong, but you know what? It's fine. Okay, so the first thing, which I amazingly talked over, was we added a little joining sort of cutscene between. I think we showed off a tiny bit of the cinematic before, but there's things that will come before that, and then there's a thing that kind of ties that to the actual game thing. And the cool thing about that is, even though it's causing us some issues, it's all sequencer based now, rather than I don't remember how we did some of this stuff before.
Yeah. Well, no.
I think the short answer is yeah, we didn't.
The answer to specifically what you're talking about is definitely that we didn't. I mean, we didn't have any kind of. It's not to say that we couldn't have, but my goodness, would it have been? We could have mocked something up with sprites actually for that, maybe, but it would have been a pain.
Right, that's the thing. We did not full things like that. We did bits and pieces using like flipbooks and weird hack together levels, didn't we? But this is much more substantial.
The ability to actually have a full directed in-engine cut sequence. Yeah, we didn't have that before, and we do now. If we want it.
Did these waterfalls just miss the demo? Or am I particularly unobservant? Oh well. These waterfalls are nice.
They did not. You're just particularly unobservant. They went in very late. In fact, they may not have been.
I think they didn't, you know.
They might not have been in the one that you had Friday, but because I remember Brand saying that you had to put some waterfall foley up in there, and it was clashing with the wind actor,
of course,
who was responsible for wind.
Makes sense.
And yeah, it was getting kind of noisy in there, and whether we should take them out or leave them in. We left everything in the end. So.
But more importantly, we've got some rats. Look at these guys. And the fun thing with these is I added loads of them just because you know, it's a recurring thing that we're working on with lots of stuff, but we don't have enough movement in our scenes. Like, I mean, for example, you know, like here at the moment, there's very little. And we know there is some, but there's just not enough. So I added in some rats. And what I also did is mostly, well, actually, I started off doing this, but then I kind of enforced it that the rats are basically always the way you want to go. And amusingly, one or two people at Rez did actually go, oh, I just kind of followed the rats. And I'm like,
nice.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay too. Excuse me. Right. Okay. So, for those of you familiar, this hasn't changed too much. We still have a bit of tutorial stuff. We're talking about maybe adding a few bits earlier, but nothing too exciting. And to be honest, compared to some of the fun and games in other rooms, this room has actually been quite a survivor. It's basically just works. I'm trying to think. We've had some fun bugs being teleported off into space with sort of various issues, but I don't think we've had as many problems with this room as other places. So I'll just kind of move through it. Oh look, a rat. I can't decide if they should be faster or slower than you, but seems alright. So again, this room, nothing too much. It just kind of behaves now. Because then we start getting to the stuff that's probably worth talking about. The eternally changing waterfall room. So it's starting to behave in some ways in that the camera kind of sort of does the right things. It's not quite right, but it gradually comes over. You get this nice reveal. We don't have the sort of full reveal because we've got to wait for our occlusion system to chill out a little bit. But It's starting to feel like a thing. And I see at some point these other layers went in the background, didn't they? Like whatever they are. Oh, they're very pretty.
Yes.
I'll be honest, a lot of this stuff came in from my perspective late, so I didn't really get a chance to have a good look at it, but it's nice. And then, hey, some bigger changes. So, hey, for a change, I'll focus on what's good about it, and then I'll talk about a few other things. So this used to be a weird kind of floaty rock-shaped thing that made no sense, and I'll admit, it was always to me like, well, this kind of needs to be here, and hopefully we'll work out what it should be later. And the problems we were having is that it just doesn't look, it obviously didn't look very interesting, and you weren't really sort of being drawn to the right areas, so somehow the idea of a water wheel came around, and I expected that to be the end of it, but I think it kind of resonated with art, because sure enough, a water wheel appeared, and this is now kind of more like a, I don't know, not, yeah, like a control room or something. This switch kind of feels like it might be a thing rather than just something floating in the middle of nowhere, which is always nice. And then we've got our camera point of interest stuff is kind of nicely behaved, so this is all framed up reasonably. Then you flip your switch, and there's some bats. I still feel they're a bit slow. Is that just me?
Is it their flapping maybe that's slow?
Maybe. I just feel something is off, but I'm not a bat expert.
Maybe you think they're because their wings are beating a bit bird-like.
Right, that could be
my
it.
impression is that bats, I mean, they're not quite bees.
But also, again, like...
But they're also not quite birds.
But also, again, it could be, I'll be honest, like, because they don't make any noise. I can't decide if it's like, you know, what part of my brain isn't happy with them. But I look at them, and I'm like, that's cool, but something's not quite right. But anyway, as a general flow thing, this is starting to work. The only thing we're mentioning, it's in the notes we're talking about, is at the moment just the way, you know, the only way we've really got to hook these things up. You pull the switch and it kind of all happens at once.
Yeah.
So you don't get a lot of anticipation. So yes, it would be nice if this kind of spins up a little bit, and then the grate opens, and then the bats come out shortly after. But hey,
could we? No, it's fine. I already told myself no. I think when we have a water volume to perturb and stuff, it'll be a good time. It may even be overloaded a little bit with that.
I mean, yeah, this all needs...
You're right, it needs to go pull the switch, water wheel gets to go in, and then the thing opens and we have bats. And...
Yeah, and there's still, because this literal placement of the water wheel was God, like 11th hour, but we still ended up with a slightly awkward shape in that sort of the distance between here and over here. Like these awkward, like, you know, couple of tile spaces, they always feel weird, and you see lots of people just... you know, do something like this and just kind of slip and fall into it, and it feels wrong. But anyway,
well, I mean, the POIs are working very well to frame. Do you know? I actually like it by the waterfall. If you were to move this, because the POI pulls it over to that side, so you've got the side of the screen that you're on, and you're pulling a switch, and that's relatively interesting. And then you've got this central bit where something's going to come out, and you've still got that frame to the left from there to start moving on that side of the screen.
I know. It's almost as if that's where I wanted it to go, but Keith put it there, and then I was like... No, but I didn't... To be fair, I didn't say to Keith, put it there. I was just sort of, you know, experimenting with the framing, and that's what I thought. And then he put it there, which also kind of looks good, but The important thing is... you know, the sort of the water level. Oh god, I can't use that phrase around water. But you know, this area has improved massively. It's just a bit of rejigging of where everything is exactly. But things are starting to come together.
I mean, it's memorable now.
Yes, right.
You can't miss the stuff going on to clue you into, because I mean, we simply can't bring people's attention to switches and grates every time in the future. But
no,
that's why this first one has to be
exactly. And it's worth mentioning, so it's not super fancy, but compared to what we had before, the point of interesting has a bit of fanciness going on in that, so when you come here and before you've pulled the switch, it will always, it's not doing it now obviously, but it will nudge the camera up towards the switch, and then when you flick the switch, it will always nudge it back down. So there's two sets that, you know, that flip basically depending on where you are and what state the switch is in. It took me longer than I thought it would, even though it's not that complicated. But the good thing is, as is often the, you know, joy and frustration of a designer, no one noticed, so it worked. Because you sure as hell notice if it's pushing up towards the switch when you've already pulled it, or not pushing down here when, you know, you want to go down. But anyway, Yeah, this is probably the most. I remember mentioning this to you. This is probably the most aggressive point of interest we've got. It's the closest we have to sort of a classic Metroid style, stick to the center of the room. It doesn't quite, but it nearly does.
I like it when we do this a lot.
Yeah, it's fun. And people seem to get it, what they were supposed to do here. Well, actually, mostly. People were sort of, okay, I got to go down. But interestingly, and I can kind of see it, a lot of people tried to land on this foreground element here like that. But
it's almost good if they don't. Because I remember looking at the notes and thinking, well, we learned something today, didn't we? If you fall through that, you kind of know that those are foreground, and you're never really going to make that mistake again.
Yeah, that one was definitely in the sort of observation category. I'm like, I'm not sure I want to do anything about this.
Yeah, I don't know what to do, because I almost think there's an argument for making that more elaborate, to make it look even more like it's going to catch you, and then go, no, this is foreground wood.
Definitely. You can either go one way or the other. But hey, I've covered loads of positives, so time for a sweet negative, because it's an eternal debate, but it'll bring us into something we can talk about in more detail later. This shape, art loves this shape. Everything I make flat becomes like this, and I get it. The problem is, for not everyone, but a lot of people, is they will... let's see, I think I've got my gamepad option here. Let's see if I got it. Oh, I do. There we go. So lots of people, to be fair, probably not most people, let's say, God, pull a number out the air, 30-40% of people will come up to it like this and just, there you go, just jump straight up. A number of people, though, are pressing the stick in before that. They're already kind of preempting that movement, and they'll do a lot of this.
Look at that. No,
I'm exaggerating a little, but not a lot, but that's kind of what people end up doing a bit of. And
that's just no. Simply no. Well, here's the thing. Now that we've divorced collision from art entirely, we can just make that flat, or we can make it, because we can also have no wall run markup. So if you wanted a flat tile there that says, no, you can't wall run this, but I am here, I do block you.
Yeah.
Also, we could maybe use a gentler slope than is actually there, just to make sure that nasty jumping stuff doesn't happen. But you know what? Are we really sad if people crouch there and they can't push into that space?
No,
I think
what would happen. I think you could only get a little bit in. I think, like you're saying, a much shallower face would probably do it. And also, though, being
able to stand where you can stand there is...
It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll just try it and see. But I certainly think a smaller component of it is probably... I don't know how this works, but how quickly you're transferring to air control, like as in the second I do this, how much air control I'm getting from the stick.
When gravity takes over, I think you get way more.
So I just wonder if there's a tiny little window where maybe it shouldn't be quite so much, because people seem to flail about a bit. But we'll see. But anyway, agreed. The majority is definitely collision markup. You just shouldn't do this because it's not something we use for gameplay. Like, we never say, hide in this tiny little space like that. It's not, because it feels awkward. So I agree.
It's going to start introducing into the game places that it looks like you can nestle into like that, where the game just goes, no, actually you can't.
Yes.
And as long as we're okay with that,
I think it's fine.
they're going to be pretty exciting and special, Chris, when you can. This is the only problem that we've got, is if we do, well, we're not going to do anything kind of secret-y that isn't telegraphed anyway. I don't know whether we would do any kind of nestle into the background secrets. That's what people are looking for, is places where the tile set is lying.
I see, that's the thing. I think it's, as with everything, it's a kind of a mixed thing. So I think, I agree with you, right? I think we need a clear language, because if this shape, going no deeper than that, this is just not a secret. It's just not. And the secret is, I don't know, it's a bit deeper, or it goes down a bit first or something. I think we can probably pretty quickly just be like, no, this is nothing.
No, there's no utility to that for the purpose of stealth either. If you're nestling into a corner like that, you've already lost. You would do much better to jump up onto that thing. So yeah.
Interestingly, as well, I forgot to note this down, but just because I didn't want to stick it somewhere uglier, I put the checkpoint thing up there, and I noticed not many, but a number of people would jump up at it.
I want it.
Yeah, I guess they just reflex thought it was a thing.
Yeah.
So
that must be it, or it has some kind of gravity to it where people just want to be near it.
I just noticed.
Such a cool glyph, though, Chris. That's why.
It's good.
Everyone wants a t-shirt.
Oh, we need that pet rat button. You got a bit of pet it. Anyway, so oh dear, no, it's this. Man.
Yeah.
Here's a classic example of game development. This should be the easiest thing in the world. I should get in this box. And then, well, firstly, they're not talking to each other, which they're supposed to. But anyway,
they're supposed to play a conversation. They do that. Oh, it's a techno party today, though.
Yeah, it's great.
Why?
So anyway, did
it do that? Wait a minute. This is
latest,
too, isn't it?
Yeah, it does it. No, I'm running.
Yeah, no, you're running an engine. Yeah, of course you are.
Of course,
Fine.
It doesn't work.
This is an engine. Fine, because probably built. That's okay. Don't ask me why. I don't know.
Anyway, wow. I mean, all they're supposed to do is have a looping conversation here. When you get in the box, turn here, like this, walk here, and they never. They did once.
I don't actually know why they're not for you. It's either positioning or.
I noticed
mesh. They get upset with nav mesh as well.
Yeah.
The interest sources are a little bit too high off the ground, or even if they're not, they
So anyway, it's really unfortunately it's a real shame because it was the first one and it was supposed to be the quickest and it was the most awkward and slowest and brokenest. But you know what? That's okay because Joe's gone down sort of one way of doing these, trying to just kind of lean on existing systems and kind of imply an order that they should take. It kind of works by the sense that it's all just driven by a different interest source. They kind of go, the most interesting thing to do right now is talk. And then when you get in the box, you kind of remove a volume and they go, actually, the most interesting thing to do is light this torch that's not lit. And then when that's done, the most interesting thing to do is look at this thing over here. Nice in theory, but now in a live firing environment, it's about 1 billion times too flaky. So I think it's just a specialized kind of patrol that's just like your patrol includes talk, do this, do that, go here, because the other thing they don't do with this, because it's interest source and not specific, is if you disturb them before they complete the actions, they just never do it. In fact, also the realization is I don't think we actually have the feature that when they give up looking for you, they return to a patrol. I noticed. I'm not sure they actually have that, or if they do, I don't think it works. But anyway,
so here's the extra fun with this. I mean, we had it where it was working every time in editor, and then we would cook it and it would do what it just did, which is obviously great. But the other thing that's really annoying about it was because we've been messing about with it for ages, not realizing that half of it was that we were having to make nav mesh from fresh every time, and we were alt-D'ing over to them, debug teleporting over to them, and they didn't have nav mesh yet. So they were going, there's an interest source, but I don't know where it is, but I really want it. Oh wait, it is over there, but I don't know how to get there. Oh no,
I see.
So we thought they weren't working half the time, and then when we realized, oh no, we just need to let the nav mesh build over there. They were talking in here, but not in the package, and then they aren't talking in here now. But the annoying thing is you've got the guys who are just above you at the aqueduct.
Yeah, they seem to work, don't they?
Yeah, they're totally fine. They're chill.
I know. Anyway, it's fun for Joe to look at because we will just go through it and be more specific. So while I'm here,
so delicate. I didn't dare mess with it any further. I mean,
same.
I got the torch positioned correctly, and doing that, I mean, it managed to not do that in the build, and then just needed to back away from it very slowly in case it all fell over.
Yeah, it's a shame because I know it will work, and I'll be honest, I just didn't expect it to take this long or be so hard, so I didn't really sit on it that much. But anyway, let's move on to another problem. The old ghosts. They're getting there in terms of their sequences, their copies of the player, but thankfully not literally copies of the player anymore, right? Because that caused many disasters.
Every system cares about the player, right?
Because of course, well, exactly. Assumptions were made that there'd only be one player. A fair assumption. Until
we cloned them.
Until Sequencer is like, don't worry.
An army of clones jumping at the origin level. Nobody knows why.
So they'd also set each other off, set off anything that was player activated. It was a whole fun party. But all of that's done, which leaves us with many other fun problems. Namely, the sort of triggering and cancelling of them. I used to, way back when, it was never perfect, but way back when they did have some more sort of advanced not that advanced, but they had a few more options for when they would cancel and when they would restart. And, you know, they'd cancel if you'd been in there a while and you were doing it, or if you left it and came back, that sort of thing. Most of that broke. So people spent a lot of time, like, not sure if it was them or the ghost. And really, unfortunately, there's just tons of things that need to be done. The most obvious of which is, like, it needs to look way different. And it's such a shame, of course, we're not a 3D game, because that'd be super easy.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is, but it needs to look way different. Like, yeah, you know, because even though we've kind of, we've adapted to it. Sure, if you've never played it before and you're pressing the buttons, it's, it's not effortless to know which is you.
I agree. So I suppose because I found them more awkward than. They were awkward for me, and I know what they are and that they're there, I suppose, is where I'm trying to get with whatever I was going to say. So I think if you encounter them under the ideal circumstance, like you have, where you can observe them doing their thing, even then you kind of walk into there and they get confusing and they end up sort of triggering halfway through what you're doing and confusing the eye as to which one's you until you're really used to them. So maybe we do this symbolically instead.
Well, you know what? I mean, so for how they look, that's one battle, but what solves nearly all the other stuff without loads of complicated stuff is do what Titanfall did when you start them and they play once. And that solves nearly, not all, but nearly all of the problems.
So we just need a hint button that appears on screen.
So if this played once and then it just stopped there and you pressed a button, then it would play if you want it to. And then you can figure how long it takes to appear at this point, down here. It solves nearly all the problems, and it feels like a slight cop-out, which is what I felt like when I was first sticking around with Titanfall. But then you realise to have some smart system that never goes wrong and that never gets in players' way, or just ask them. You basically go, do you want me to tell you how to do this? Because I can. And if you don't want to, you don't. But yeah, I mean, it works. Like, I know loads of games do loads of sophisticated stuff to be like, check if they already did the move in the last couple of minutes, or check if they left the volume, then went into the volume, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, or you can basically just go, do you want to know how to do this? Or not? I think that's probably just, saves a load of trouble. But anyway, hey, decisions for the demo. We know people get on better with them than without them, even in that state. So just kind of, bit my tongue and let them get on with it. Okay, this didn't really change at all, so it's fine. This again, like, because these encounters were so flaky, I just never got to balance it. Like, ideally, I'd have them start, when you were like probably here.
Those guys want to talk. They want to have a
ideally, right, you'd be like here and they'd start walking, so you'd kind of meet them, because it's a longer corridor, but didn't happen. So yes, this wait is far too long. But as you said, like, I just did not want to touch them at all. Also, I really, really want it now that when this guy goes underneath that drip by the mushroom, his torch goes out and he's really annoyed. But anyway, that's the kind of feature creeping that's not going to happen. But so not the problem, but the thing is, like, high level, these guys are great because they draw your attention over to here, which is where you want to go. They reinforce this, and also they discourage backtracking at this point in time, which are all good things. Unfortunately, they're too slow to get to where they need to go, and they're too busted that, it kind of didn't work. But, I'm happy that that's going to work.
Do we need to globally increase AI walk speed? Because that was something I thought we should probably do.
Well, we can, because, hey, guess what? They're 10% slower than you now. Oops. So, it's probably something to mention now. Now the secret's out. I told you, of course, but I didn't tell the other guys. Yeah, we did loads of stuff to, like, improve, like, the smoothness of the player character. Loads of stuff for cancelling of animations when you're doing mantling up and down, stuff like that, and little queuing, all bits of pieces. Because the main feedback we got from the testing we did before was that everything felt slow and clunky. So a lot of the clunkiness I identified to times they're hammering the buttons and nothing happens when you're climbing and stuff like that. So we really made a lot of that a lot better. However, what I also did when no one was looking is I increased all of the movement speed of the player by 10%, and no one said anything. So success. again, never want to swing wildly with those things, but I'm like, is this just the speed it is because we're used to it? Or is it what it should actually be? And I think it's probably a thing if we left the main speeds, I don't think it changed basically forever. And a lot of those were also, deemed by, they were led by animation, which we all know is not the way to do things. So
they were led by animation, and even at that point, they weren't. Nobody was even pretending that these are the final numbers.
Yes.
We just never. Hey, they must be close enough because we never felt a need to go back to them. But when you did, nobody noticed, and faster is better.
Yeah, so I gave him a nudge. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we can speed them up. There's a bunch of stuff. Why is that ghost tricking so annoying? There's a bunch of stuff we need to do, but I guess what I'm saying is like, even though unfortunately in terms of like actual implementation for the demo, all these guards unfortunately sucked. Like I still feel like mechanically they're doing the right things. The execution was sadly lacking because hey, we had lots of problems. But we'll get back to them. They will make it. And this as well. So hey, she says something that doesn't make sense, and the map opens. The interesting thing is, this seems faster here. I noticed when a lot of people were playing it, they'd talk to her and they'd walk quite a way, and then the map would open and they'd be very confused. So I don't know. Well, not let's see if I can do it. I know she's.
Oh, I see. Maybe it'll be an abandonment thing. I get it. So that's something that's kind of specific to Hester. Because she's the only one who has abandonment set up on her. Because really, abandonment doesn't matter anymore. But she has some checks to terminate the conversation that you're having if you walk away. Still on her character, on her blueprint. So we can just strip that stuff out, I think. This is also why I was saying that I'd probably remake things like Hester and Armin and all of the rat catchers, basically, because I don't want to pick apart these ones because Ian's got some stuff in them.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'd rather stayed at particular examples of stuff, but I don't think we need everything, particularly like the trigger volumes and stuff. We like presuming 2, and maybe we only need 1 and all that.
And I noticed some people wanted to go up here, which is kind of fine. In fact, yeah, I'm totally fine with this. The only thing is, which is kind of impossible to solve, is I wish you just didn't clunk your head on here, but
But you have to, yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't know. What would you prefer happen? I'm fine with that. I
honestly don't know. I just know that it feels bad. Not in a. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Feel bad though. Come on.
But it's not that kind of bad though.
Come on.
Anyway.
It's like I want to go up here. Well, you can't. There you go. That's just the perfect result for me.
Sort of. I don't know. To be honest, I doubt it's something we'll ever solve, but it doesn't feel good. Anyway, it feels like what it is, right? It's just the physics going, nope, go down.
Yes, sort of. Oh, you mean in terms of it entirely stopping you, and then you've got nowhere else to go, do you? So energy has to go up and get and you have to be pulled down again. So yeah, it is a. Well, is it that odd a dead stop? Would we want to keep some kind of velocity so you kind of rub up against it for a couple of frames or something?
I honestly don't know. I just know that
momentum, and it feels a bit more bouncy.
It doesn't feel great.
Jumps.
Anyway, look at this rat. Look at this cunning rat. He knows the score. Anyway, let's get over here to the most mechanically overloaded room probably in the game at the moment. So we got all this stuff, which sure is present. And then I also noticed you can do this. Of course, now I've said that, it's not going to work for me this time. Yeah, it doesn't, but people were able to do that. Not very many people did, but 1 or 2 people did do it. Let's see if I can do it one more go. Yeah, you can do that. Anyway, we're going to redo this room. It's got a lot of weight on it, and it's also full of these shapes we've been talking about that are just bad. Like platforms this exact length feel crap. Like for many reasons. I mean, one, I don't know if I can do it here. Like if you run and land on them like this, you'll just miss them, and that just feels crap. And also, if admittedly less likely to do here, but whatever. Like if you do this, feels bad.
Yeah,
they just feel bad.
Well, I mean, this as is often mentioned, this is the part of the first route that has been changed more than any other part.
Yes.
And this is the only bit of it that has largely managed to escape unscathed,
Yeah.
because it was a lot more important to us in previous incarnations of the game that we teach jumping from column to column. And this is still a really good setup for doing that. Now we do still need to teach that.
Yeah, it's mainly this inner weird floaty shoulder bit that's just, it's very overloaded now, because it's like, oh, be the end of the pillars, and also do this, and also be the return for this, and it's like, okay, all these things are great, but they all need more space. Not much, but just a tad, because as I said, like, it's not a hard and fast rule yet, but I noticed normally when I see platforms of this length and this length, with walls near them, they don't feel great.
I think in the right context, I think they are great, and I think in a context of, if you go running off this, you're being very, very silly. Like if we're doing craggy mountainside climby downtime, which we will, then I feel pretty good about things like that, where we insist, no, you must stop at the edge here and mantle down and be good about it, because otherwise you're going to break your little legs.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
When we work out what we do about that. But here, I get it.
It's just a weird, funny shape.
But yeah, just that room generally, and this room. I mean, really, all that needs to be maintained about this is the ports in and where the lift nestles into. So
you could definitely make this more impressive.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we gained a ton of. Well, this is what I said when we redesigned it and took it back down to a single lift. Was we gained a ton of space to make it much grander. And make it grander around the aqueducty bits as well if we want to. So, how satisfying is that?
It's even more satisfying when the rat's next to it and he runs away when it opens. But anyway,
I'm spooked.
So even though there's plenty of problems in this room, I honestly like the way it looks. I like the way these guards look. Have a little chat.
It's the first time something real's going on. So.
And yeah, I'm just watching around these. The torch looks. Again, we know we've got some sort of lighting issues. We need to balance some things out, but still having a moving light source going over tiles looks nice. So yeah, a couple of interesting things I was mentioning to you before about this room. So hey, what I thought a bunch of people would do, right, is I'll show you. Is I thought they might do this. This is one way. I'll like that, or or fine if that's not your jam. Oops, I screwed it up. He'll probably break now. But anyway, if that's not your jam, you could use the hide spot and kind of get near. Oh, I've really broken it now. There we go. But nope. Most people wanted to loop back, which I found kind of interesting. It's like it took them. Well, I don't know. I guess they're just having fun. But they get to like here and then they'd be like, "Oh yeah, this is that thing I already know." But you know what? I don't care because there's no real penalty. Like if you drop down, you're straight back there, and we kind of want those two to link together. The other one I don't mind, but was not, supported yet, was doing this. Oops, come on. I might have to move him because there are some, when I said it wasn't supported, I mean it. He might see me up here. No, he doesn't. Okay, but his cones are very wide. People would, anyway, try and do it. Like, oh, there you go, you saw me there when you shouldn't really. And then, of course, this looks bad because, hey, we didn't think you'd be here. But people would do this, which also looks bad because you shouldn't really go through those. But as a solution, I'm down with that, so we'll support it.
It's my favorite way of doing that room. So
yeah, that's completely fine. I just didn't spot it. So yeah, that's fine. Kind of works, kind of doesn't.
Because it's nice to stand as a monument to a bunch of features that we don't have but need.
Yes, yeah.
So as long as that room it doesn't work properly, I'm quite happy.
And I think
question from chat. Next step in the development going on in the background at the moment. Ooh, anything I'd want to talk about?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. My chat window, which I thought was live, evidently is dead. So let me just refresh that. Come on.
It's all right. Ollie's had you back.
Oh, that's really... Where has this come from? Oh, wait. Hang on. Well, you'll have to have my back because I don't know why, but I can't see anything. So that's...
Twitch!
That's good. I apologize, guys. I can't see it.
I can see it. It's okay. Development going on in the background at the moment. I suppose there's audio stuff. There's the synthesizer stuff.
Yep.
We haven't talked a great deal about. That's pretty interesting. There's some visibility
Actually,
stuff which we've shown on stream before.
I can just temporarily. I'll crank up the audio a little bit.
We were talking about the wind actor, and that is using Unreal's new audio engines. So we're using a runtime virtual analog synthesizer and some samples to do like a wind actor. So we've got some noise and some filters. But that's like generally applicable. We've got a sequencer, we've got synths, that's going on in the background. It's not ready for prime time yet, but we do have some of that going on. And the visibility occlusion, that's the other big thing that's happening on the side of this, which it's been on stream before, but we just need to get it right.
God, I need that back. I do miss it. I know it's not going to be as strong, but anything that just allows you to a little. Well, actually, I'll show a good example up here in a minute of something that's good for.
Yeah, I've got this thing literally in the background. We have parallax. We do. Parallax was something we stripped out from the demo at the last minute because it wasn't quite what we wanted. We had a rough and ready version that we were using for some video capture previously, but wasn't quite ready for full human scrutiny. So.
Right. So, actually, we should discuss this. So, this here is like a third of an implementation. We just ran out of time. So again, it's like, how hard can it be to sync up a chest opening animation and do a thing? Well, yeah, it was actually a massive pain. So really, this was like part 1 of 3. It should have done this, and then this should have gone to like a little, show you what you can do with it, and then it should have said press back or whatever. Is it back? Yeah, and to find out, any more information. But there wasn't time to make this menu, so they're grayed out, and there wasn't time to make it correctly, like go between a couple of things, and there definitely wasn't time to have a sweet, like bespoke, you got this particular thing animation. So hey, most people eventually got it, but I don't blame anyone for kind of pressing buttons here, trying to make it do something, coming back.
It should slide up and be replaced by press a button for more info, and then it should both fade out.
Yep, but I literally have a spec for it, but just wasn't going to happen.
Fine.
So anyway, let's go up here. Boop. So this is a fun one. This is like a classic art and design thing. I purposefully took off a bunch of these wooden pillars, probably more than I should have done, but hey, I was just focused on the demo really exactly. So obviously there's lots of places where actually you can just get around these guys, which is mostly fine. You can make it a bit harder for yourself than you need to, because most people didn't do that as well as I did. But just interesting to know.
If most people don't do that as well as you did, is it fine?
That one is fine. What is less fine is because of the amount of stuff over here on the other side, on the left-hand side. Lots of people, I would say at least the ones I was watching, more than 50% of people would try and get over here quite a lot. And again, usually wouldn't make it, but they would think there was stuff to do up here because this is here, and there's other, little bits, but it doesn't do anything. In fact, it shouldn't, because it'd be really funny if it does. Can you do this? I don't think you can quite do it. If you could, that would be bad. Anyway, it all looks a bit too interesting, you know what I mean? These are all a bunch of bits that don't do anything. So I'll have a look at them and probably snip a few bits off here. But the ones on the other side, yeah, I'm less bothered about that. If you figure that out, it's probably fine. Boop. Yeah, that's right. You can hear me. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. That's what I thought. Anyway, so yeah, that's your free, you can knock this guy out challenge. Interestingly, a lot of people didn't, but I would suspect that's because there's a couple of things. One, I don't think people necessarily realized what they had. And two, at some point, the prompt kind of wandered off for attacking them. It's kind of too far over. Because I had it positioned it perfectly. So, as you come up to the ladder, the prompt would come up. But at some point, it stopped working. Oh, well. Another thing as well is a lot of people tried this a lot, even though it doesn't do anything. I think they were just they were really interested in it, which fine.
I don't think they're interested in that. I think they're going, is there a way that I can full evade this guy? They just don't want to they don't want to go close to him if they can possibly avoid it. So can I go up and over is what people are asking themselves when they do that.
Yeah.
No, you can't. You're going to have to get close to the scary man. That's the point.
this is the other thing as well, is that, and again, I think this is fair enough. It's just you forget the assumptions you make when you're used to, playing it and you know how it works. Joe has specifically put in code that means they don't see you when you're like this, because what would they do? Nothing. Yep. But hey, you know what? Probably looks like he can see you, so people wouldn't do this. I'll be honest. Right now, okay. Later on, we can probably soft tutorialize it. We can often put you in situations where this is fine, but
I think for now it is okay. I think I think going forward, we absolutely need to be able to raise when there's situations when the player is in situations where there's a more general alert, where we've got more AI around, then you need to be spotted in vents. But so we do need to show that that's a thing.
I was trying to think. I was wondering, does Deus Ex ever specifically tell you that they can't see you in vents? Because they can't.
Can they not?
No, not in the new one.
Yeah,
new one.
Okay.
They can't see you for the same reason, I imagine, because they can't do anything about it.
But they can globally. I mean, they can. But the only thing. Well, okay. What can you do about spotting someone in an event that's fun? Nothing. Unless your vent network is complicated enough that they can get into the vents and chase you around in a fun way.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a combination of, it's not fun because they're very much made for player uses, so they just kind of go places and nowhere else. They're very and also it's animations. They don't have like bendy, crouchy vent animations.
Of course, yeah. I mean, nobody's like looking forward to the vent gameplay.
No, exactly.
I mean, maybe some.
And of course, presumably, even a player character doesn't have any. There's probably none at all on reflection. Anyway,
I can get into the vents and how long we've been waiting for this? Don't make me get in there. Come out. And that's the thing. That's the other thing that's no fun. They could all just wait for you at the exit. And then what do you do? Oh, I'm doomed. Okay.
So another interesting thing I also mentioned to you is, one person said it overtly, but I suspect others thought it. When they arrived here, they thought they were about to have a little fight. And you know what? If I step outside what I know, I can see that. She's looking at the door. She's sharpening a weapon. Fine. Yep. So, these things happen.
The good secret here is, Chris, that Vashti doesn't actually live here.
Oh my god! What?
It's almost like we put her there just for a little bit of extra sexiness in the amount of sprites we had on that ground floor.
This guy definitely looks like he belongs in like a fighting game. He's got his nice little...
They've got the bounce.
Yeah.
They've got that idle bounce. There's a few of them have that. I think Cyrus up there as well. He's got.
Oh yeah.
He's having a good time. Yeah.
So anyway, this is about as far as most people got within the 10 minutes. There's some interesting slowdown in this room. I do wonder what it is, but anyway. And it all kind of behaved. And you know what? I was fine with the fact that it, even though there are some camera things going on here, you can kind of see it pulling it towards the lift. I was kind of fine that people sort of fairly aimlessly moved around. Yeah, they just kind of ambled around.
Interesting. I still think if we do still need to experiment with zoom states, and I think as long as you can still see everything that's going on the screen, as long as the pixel art doesn't degrade horrendously, which it shouldn't. I wouldn't mind trying to pull out here and framing the whole place, because I think it would be a cool thing to see. We did that before, though, didn't we? We
tried it very briefly.
Did it not work?
I don't think it survived long enough to really be discussed, if I'm honest.
Fair enough.
I mean, it can be, again. It just, I don't mean it was rejected. It's just like it stopped working at some point, and then we never thought about it again. Anyway,
we have to do something about the switches on the lifts as well. Whatever the solution is, that they wait until you get off them before they pop again, or even that wouldn't work here, because you'd have to walk back the other way and still avoid it. So I think throw switches on lifts is probably
I think so
the
too.
Only way to be certain. I don't mind them for the call buttons, because they only ever that's never going to be annoying, I don't think. And it would be, because they have to be in matchy symmetry places, it makes me upset to put throw switches places like that. But if I have to, I'll do it.
That's interesting. That was really short for no reason. The jump stuff does scare me sometimes. Yeah, see, it's way longer. Uh-oh. This all still feels slightly awkward to me, but I can't put my finger on why, so I just kind of leave it alone. But it looks nice.
So nobody made it to second unlock?
Maybe 1 or 2 people did that I saw. It was rare. Boop. That's a good point, actually, that I mentioned it and we still don't have an answer, because I don't think you can enforce it early on, but you need to tell people early on. Is we never tell people you can cancel out like that. So when people want to, they often do this, and even though it doesn't matter here, that's a good example of not what they wanted. I think we just have to tell them. Well, not without like wall switches and shit, and you're not going to be throwing that at them at the start. So I suspect, to be honest, it probably is one of the areas where we just kind of have to give up and just have a bit of text that says you can cancel this. Like, unless you've got any ideas, but everything I can think of involves switches and other, quite complicated setups that, kind of gross.
I can't think of a circumstance. Oh wait, maybe I can.
Well, open to ideas, but I'm also kind of happy to accept that it is one of the times we just say, by the way, you can do this. And later on, we can make it, mandatory. I can see, situations when you're more au fait with the rest of the controls that it'll be okay. But I think you need to know that it exists earlier. But we'll see. Oh my god. It's a chest. Tweet wall run boots.
Yeah, you can do it. So you would fall... to prevent people from jumping as well. I think you can do it. I think what you have to do is make a thin... it's a 1 tile thin wall slide space though, which is sort of an awkward thing we never do.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
Just to force it, because then if you press B, it would make it so the player would have to press B to fall into a grab. But that's so arcane.
Yeah,
that's not tutorializing something. That's a puzzle. That's you already
what I mean.
know how to play this game. Can you work out how to get through here? And it's not even a nice puzzle. But that's the only way off the top of my head to force them to cancel out of a wall slide. And that's...
So from about here onwards, I need to fix some stuff up, because an obvious thing is here, you just want to change the flow of this slightly so that you end up facing back this way anyway, whereas instead you do this awkward thing where you step over the thing you need to open to pull a thing to turn around, and it feels weird. And then, this is all weird because, again, look, you land right on the edge of this, which I don't like. It never feels right. And then, as we've discussed, but we'll talk about it again.
What do you want to do? Go back to the more interesting lift room because you forgot about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, this...
Glowing mushroom ain't enough to make people...
No, this...
Got a question about progression. You can see progression here, actually, in the unlock we've just got. So they're all going to be in... nearly all are going to be in player... parkour capability. So you've seen 2 unlocks during the course of this demo. This one that Chris is demonstrating now, which is the new wall run, which enables you to get way higher up than you could do previously. And you also saw us unlock the Kosh, or Blackjack, as it's been renamed, because we can't agree on a name for Hitty Stick to knock people out. And as we're hoping to keep stealth as violence free as the player wants it to be, hopefully you would be able to go through the game without using it.
Yes, this is an interesting thing, by the way. Even though so I asked Ed just to make the ghost for this and didn't realize that of course you can obviously do what the ghost is doing, and I don't know which is faster, but I tell you what feels a hell of a lot better to me is to do this. Oh, not that feels awful. What I meant was I always did this because it just felt cooler, even though it's completely unnecessary. Oh my god, it's really off. I think the frame rate is bad here again. Plus, it's listening to me. But anyway, what you can do, maybe after like the 5th go at this. There we go.
You nearly didn't make it.
I know, I nearly didn't make it. Anyway, I always did it that way. Didn't even think about it.
I think usually we'd be going, you're facing the wrong way for this, but it just looks so cool when you do it that way. And it's a freebie as well, because we know everyone wants to... Once you're already in a I pressed A to get here situation, mostly, as we just discussed with cancelling out of wall slide, people don't press B, they press A again. Because why not double down?
Yeah. So hardly anyone got here, but hey, it's in a reasonably good place. Like, as people pointed out, like internally, sure, like these challenges aren't very exciting because I'll be honest, you know, time was against us, and I'm like basically
glad people didn't get here as we had to tear Parallax out because it.
Yeah, so there was that, and also I was like, basically no one's going to get here, so sorry guys, I'm not going to like, you know, spend a lot of time on this setup. So the people, they're here, and I guess this is a hide spot, but I mean, whatever, you don't really need it. And this guy's up here, isn't he? Yep, he's having a great time. But what I would want you to do, and I'm going to just cheat, boop, is just come down here, use this, you can get around both of them.
You can go visit cool.
Yeah, oh yeah, I should. God, the frame rate is not so happy here. There he is. Nice. I also wish we'd had time, and hey, if you ever do it. No. For other shows, definitely, it'd be so fun just to have him say, you know, like, oh, grab yourself a t-shirt or something like that. Because we saw people doing little things like that, and they all seem obvious when it's too late for you to do any of them. Anyway, let's just go over here. And the other thing that's really upsetting is why do so many of these prompts stick around forever? And they're all offset in a weird place. And,
I mean, 2 builds before the one you got, you only had them on levers, so.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, I'm getting hammered by frame rate here. I'm not usually this terrible at the game. Yeah, so, and then, yes, there was the hard cut off here. Bloop.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Trigger would like you to leave now.
Yep, get out.
Thank you.
And also, does it still crash the whole game? I forgot to ask.
Probably not. But
Cool.
let's find. Oh wait, that looks like probably did.
Certainly not super happy. Maybe it did.
So, it's the synth. Just so you know, we all of them, the returning to main menu, everything, all of the loop back crashes were the synth actor.
Right.
In the wind actor specifically. It was great finding that out because everyone was like, wow, really? Nobody called that. nobody thought that guy was going to be it. So yeah, it's the synthesizer, but it's not releasing MIDI data or something. And then there's some threading issues with the extra clock stuff I think we've had to do for audio. So
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie.
Right, well,
so we probably should have, I think if we'd just torn the synthesizers out of the build, because they were really only used for, the noodles didn't end up going in.
All right.
Even though they exist, and the only thing that used it was the wind actor. So hey.
Right. Oh well, I'll quickly load it up again, and we can quickly summarize a few bits and pieces, and then I think that'll do for this time. But yeah, I mean, hey, you know, we spent a lot of time talking about the stuff that didn't work, but it's still the best public demo we've done. So I don't feel terrible about it. I feel like another week would have been delicious, but that's how everyone always feels. So yeah, I'm not too upset. And it's pretty clear, you know, what we can do to make it a lot better, even that area. So yeah,
it's not destructive anymore. I mean, every other time, shows are fine and everything, but every time you do them, not every time you do them, all of the times we've done them thus far, we've had to get the game to a state of readiness. And this is generally true of development. I mean, how bad it is to go and do show scales is what I'm saying. And it'll get even worse if your product's even bigger, because you need to go and show people what's going on, but you have to cajole the game into a state of readiness that most of the time it just doesn't need to be. It's just not helpful for it to be that playable. However, this time, we're more in the position where these systems are here to stay. They need to be stable. We're moving on to really building significant numbers of environments with this stuff under them. So just more content should be generated off the back of this. And that's nice. It's the first time. I'm just glad we didn't have to iterate out another vertical slice and then have to burn it all, and that all of this is sticking around, and we're just going to iterate over it and over it again.
Pretty much. I mean, I guess we can summarize by saying, like, the only existing room that is just going to be destroyed is this one, because it's just
so many times. It's not that room; it's the one next to it. I think that is the file that has changed most. Like a non-code asset file that has changed most in the whole project.
Yeah, yeah. It's got so much weight on this bit now that this used to basically do nothing, and now it's kind of holding together a lot of things. And there's just not quite enough space for them all. And as we discussed, like this room, while it looks nice, it's a perfectly pleasing room. If you were to ask someone to describe it, versus all the other rooms, they're gonna struggle. And everyone can describe this room now. It's the one with the water wheel in it. So, as we said earlier, we need another water wheel, not literally, figuratively. Yeah, which is fine because we kind of know. Yeah, I find it interesting, random thing to jump to, but like when you see people playing Counter-Strike, how they find names for all the rooms, and obviously that's really important, even if the room is banana. Yeah. At least you know what it is. Well, this is nothing because this looks almost the same, obviously, but we'll think of something. And then, yeah, I'm sure it'll take a couple of goes because I also think we can probably, when Occlusion is back online, we can probably find some way to hint to this room's existence, when you're over here, which is something, that fell off because the system doesn't work right now, but I'm sure there's opportunities to get you to have a little sneaky look here. And of course, don't overlook cheating, which is what everyone likes to do. For example, let's say we keep this as is, putting some massive light beams here when you come back, or some bats come out of it when you come back, or a million. Yeah, well, a thing, what moves that wasn't there before, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because ultimately the point of that location is, hey, this flat surface that you presumably noticed before, oh, you didn't because it wasn't special enough? Never mind, you noticed it. Could you now run up it, please? So it has to be a relatively dull, normal, flat surface so that you can run up it.
Yeah, there are ways and means. I can think of ways, and I'd rather just try and build them up gradually than try everything at once. But certainly,
it's a similar order of problem as why does nobody notice the swingy poles? Because they're just too small and normal, and I mean, when you associate them with jumping around and having swingy fun,
yeah, we'll
you'll probably spot them more reliably. But hey, yeah. Anyway, that's part of. There's not too much of this we need to go over again, really. Most of what we do from here is expansion outwards, really, expansion downwards, leftwards, upwards, I think, primarily.
Twirling towards.
Yes, a twirling.
Yeah, no, I think it's it look pretty good. And as you say, not everything is going to be destroyed from now on. It's we don't have to swing quite so wildly to fix things. And yes, some of the gambles AI-wise didn't pay off at the last minute, but that's game development. It'll all be fine. But yeah, I think that'll do for now, guys. So thank you very much for joining us. We should be back more regularly. I won't say a time because I think we're going to tweak it a bit because we've ended up in this space where we often overlap with epics, which seems like a mistake. But we'll keep you posted and hopefully back to a much more regular schedule. But for now, bye.